my comment.
We are on. Welcome.
There we are.
All right.
I bent over my thing.
Yes, you are. Yeah, that's going to be delayed, so don't look at that. Just look at the comments, and you got to turn the volume down.
Oh, I'll turn the volume off.
You're going to get really confused.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, we're set.
Hey, Fire and Ice, how are you? All right, well, since you're here, I guess we could get started. Or let's wait. We're going to wait a couple minutes.
Yeah, we're 6:15. Let's get into
All right.
it.
So Andy Baldwin must be a big Snoop Dogg fan because he is dropping documents like they're hot. Welcome to our live that we did not plan, but hey, here we are. So we're going to read some Delphi documents for you, and we figured we'd go live because these things just dropped. So we wanted to be on the up and up about this.
Fix this a little bit. Make it look a little bit better.
Glad you like that intro, Fire and Ice.
There we go.
Okay, so today new Delphi documents dropped, and Peter's not in the frame, so I'm going to move over a little. There we go. We got Peter in the frame. Okay. Yeah. And these documents were, well, this document was called Motion to Suppress the Accused's Second Statement. Okay, and then it starts off, and it dropped today, which is April 15th. It was filed by Baldwin. Rosie, I think, filed one so far. It seems
Only
like Baldwin's
one. It
the
like
document dropper. Yeah,
dropping,
so how it begins by saying that Richard Allen wants the court to suppress all statements from his October 26th, 2022 interrogation by Jerry Holman, okay? And then it goes on to detail the first interrogation of Richard Allen, which was held on October 13th of 2022. And Allen went voluntarily, but he went to that interrogation thinking he was helping solve the murders because he had been on the trail that day. Okay, they didn't really tell him why he was going, and they don't do that, so obviously. So Liggett and Mullen interviewed Allen the first time on October 13th. He was read his Miranda rights in that one, but stay tuned because there's another issue with the Miranda rights. Okay, so they said that, Baldwin said that it was apparent for most of the interview that Richard Allen thought he was helping out with the investigation. And that was apparent for about 3/4 of the interview. And at one point in the interview, Allen realized that he might have been the suspect. So he said, I don't want to be somebody's fall guy. We're going to try to make pieces of a puzzle fit somewhere they don't. So that, to me, is a really interesting statement because he had the foresight to know that what was going down.
Yeah.
So then when the intensity of the interview amped up at that point, Rick said, it's over. I feel like you guys think I've done this. So I'm done. Basically, leave my reputation out of it. I know you got to do what you got to do. And when you find the guy, I'll expect an apology. Within hours of that interrogation, Liggett had drafted the warrant and Diener signed it pretty much right then and there. And Richard Allen is not seeking the suppression of that first interrogation. Okay.
So I'm not even sure why they included that in this document. I'm not sure. Only maybe just to show that during that interrogation they did read him his Miranda rights, and that it was documented. He signed the papers. You know, the whole. Because I guess when you're, I guess not only are you read your rights, but you also signed some sort of document acknowledging that you understand the rights.
Okay.
I think.
Also, they may have wanted his statements to go. I think
really
that.
Bother me. Sorry.
I think, go ahead.
Keep talking.
I think the fact that, you know, he said things like you're trying to make this puzzle piece fit and things like that, you know, and he was respectful to them, and he said do what you got to do.
Sorry,
but I'm
that
not
was
the
creepy
guy.
with my head in the camera there.
So maybe they wanted that on file too.
Maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure why they included that, but maybe just to show that they did it once, but they didn't do it the second time. But then, for the second interrogation, and they sort of give out a timeline of how that went down. So on October 13th of 2022, Kathy and Rick asked the state police when they could pick up their vehicle, because right after that interrogation is when the search warrant was signed, and then the vehicle was seized. So they were wanting to know when could we get our vehicle back. So that was on October 13th. Then on October 17th, they contacted state police again to determine when they'd be able to get their vehicle back.
Right.
So after a few phone calls back and forth with the state police, they finally determined that on October 26th of 2022, they would be able to go and pick up their vehicle.
Okay.
So on October 26th, they Rick and Kathy both went to the state police barracks in the Lafayette Police Post to retrieve their vehicle, and this was at 9 a.m. in the morning. And when they arrived, Detective Holman met them at the front and said he just had a few things he wanted to clear up with Rick before he released the vehicle. So he asked Rick to come back with him back to an interrogation room, and he told Kathy to wait in the lobby. So when they got to the interrogation room, this is where it gets interesting. Now, I'm not going to, there's, what would we say, there's 13 pages of this?
About 13, yeah.
A lot of it, to be quite, and I've read the whole thing, to be honest with you, a lot of it is, I'm not sure where the defense is going with it.
Okay.
Only because if you know anything about law enforcement, if you know anything about interrogations, everything that they lay out in here seems to be pretty normal procedure for an interrogation.
Right.
You're going
yes.
to get them in a confined room. You're going to make them feel uncomfortable.
Right.
You're going to try to intimidate them. You're going to lie to them. You're not going to tell them the truth. You're going to lie to them to try to get them to say something against themselves. So all of that is laid out in this document, almost as if Baldwin and Rozzi were like, I've never heard of this before. This is brand new to us. This is not good. No, this is normal procedure. So I'm not sure where they were going with all of that. And that's really, honestly, most of the document is laying out, one, how they were lying to Richard Allen.
Right.
Two, how they were intimidating him and making him feel uncomfortable. Again, all of these things are tactics that law enforcement uses. And then the other big part of it was, and I'll leave this up to you guys if you want to go look at it, was they referred back to a case that they're citing as law to where what they were doing was not correct. But the big part of this, the big takeaway from this is the Miranda rights. So what the defense is saying is that Richard Allen was never read his Miranda rights, he never signed off on his Miranda rights. So that's why they're trying to get this second interview.
And I should say, if anybody's watching that doesn't, Miranda rights are, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to, have an attorney. If you don't have one, the court will appoint one. And if anybody remembers in the beginning, Richard Allen said he was going to get his own attorney. And then he claimed to be indigent afterwards. And, these lives are hard to do because we got that going on, we got that going on.
Yeah. So now the other interesting thing is it seems to be a theme throughout this case where for some reason video evidence comes up missing. And again, that's what they're claiming in this case, is that video evidence was missing. And they're not claiming that the whole interview is missing, only the very beginning, where what the defense claims is when law enforcement would typically read the Miranda, go through all the procedures and get all that, clean up all of that part of it before they got into the interview. And they're claiming that that never happened, and they're claiming that there's not any video evidence showing that it happened.
Okay.
That it was either the camera started late, or for some reason that first part of the interview was deleted.
And isn't it interesting? He's not read his Miranda rights, and it's not on video, and there's no mention of a transcript. Because I immediately asked about a transcript, right? There's no mention in this document.
There's not one single mention of a transcript in this, and I don't understand how that could even possibly be the case. How do you not have a transcript of the interview? Not unless what they're saying is that they actually did not turn that camera on until a couple minutes into the interview, so there was only a transcript from that point on. But they never do mention a transcript.
This document always, before you get into it, it almost feels like Baldwin is trying to play dumb. Like, it's like, okay, we're gonna play dumb here. Like, oh, they did all this during the interrogation. Why?
Right.
You know, like, but they know why they did it.
So this was, I'm gonna read this part here. However, for unknown reasons, the video provided to the defense is missing the beginning portion of the interview when procedural matters are typically handled by law enforcement, such as the reading of Miranda, advisement of rights, and confirming with the suspect that he is free to leave, if in fact the suspect is free to leave. In this case, either A, the camera was only turned on after Holman and Richard Allen were already minutes into the interview, because the video provided to the defense does not show Holman and Rick Allen entering the room, sitting down, and beginning the interrogation. Or B, the camera was recording the entire time, but the interview was later edited out before being turned over to the defense in February of 2024. So what they're saying is, either way, the beginning of the interaction between Holman and Rick in the interrogation room, when introductions are typically made and Miranda rights are always reviewed, is missing. In the 70 plus years of experience between co-counsels, this is highly unusual, especially on a high profile case of this nature.
Highly unusual in the Delphi case? No.
Nothing is highly unusual.
Say it isn't so.
Yeah, no. So we have that. And then they also say the defense has not been provided with any report explaining this missing part of the video. And then they go on to say, to make matters more suspicious, as if they could get even more suspicious,
Yeah.
Holman claims in his November 1st, 2022 report, memorializing his October 26th interrogation of Rick Allen, the following. I asked Mr. Allen if he remembered the other detectives reading him his Miranda rights, and he said yes. I don't think that means anything, though. I told him he was free to go at any time and the door was unlocked. Holman's report doesn't identify who the other investigators are that purportedly reviewed Miranda with Rick.
Of course not.
Holman's report doesn't detail when, where, or how these purported investigators purportedly reviewed Miranda with Rick. And Holman's words quoted in paragraph 23 above appear nowhere in the video. In other words, Holman is not shown asking Rick Allen about his rights, nor is Holman viewed telling Rick Allen that he is free to leave. So, and again, I don't know how big of a deal this is, because they had already, off of that initial interview, they had already gotten a search warrant, they had already seized his vehicle, they'd already done everything, they already knew they were going to arrest him. So I don't know how much of this is really going to play into it, if at all. And again, I think the only thing that makes sense to me is that the defense is trying to cover their tracks, lay down the foundation for an appeal, that kind of thing.
And you see, here I go, the Chad Dorman case. The same thing happened. He kept saying, he never said, I want a lawyer specifically. He said, I think I need a lawyer. Is there a lawyer? Like, he was asking weird questions. Is there a lawyer? Am I supposed to have a lawyer? And his confession got thrown out because he said all those things, and they kept going with the interrogation. But that was on video.
Right.
There's the difference.
Right. So they say that they've searched diligently through the discovery to try to find any reports of anything relating to this interrogation, and they found nothing. Now this one section that I found interesting, only because it sort of lays out, I think, what the defense is trying to do to get the foundation for an appeal. It's just hammering in on the same thing, but I'll read it to you. So this is section 30 of this. Just as Brad Holder's February 17, 2017 interview is missing, just as the mimicked crime scene found on Holder's social media page is missing and still has not been turned over to the defense, but the defense thankfully located in Georgia, and just as Rick's original taped statement to Dan Doolin in front of the grocery store in February 2017 is missing, the beginning of portion of Holman's interview with Rick Allen is also missing. So I think they're just trying to sort of set a pattern. And there does seem to be a pattern of missing evidence. So that was the beginning part of it. And then they got into, and then this is where they sort of get into where I don't understand why they're even putting this in here, because this just seems like normal law enforcement interrogation techniques to me, anyway. Again, I'm no expert. I have no idea. I watch a lot of CSI and Law and Order, but it seems, it seems normal. So what they did was, the following are true and accurate depictions of what occurred at Allen's October 26, 2022 interrogation. As shown on the videotape of said interrogation that was not missing or deleted, but was actually provided to the defense. On the video, Holman never read Rick Allen his Miranda rights, nor mentioned them to Rick Allen. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny, confined room without windows, which again, to me, that seems totally normal. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny, confined room and Holman shut the door. Okay, again, totally normal to me. Rick Allen was placed in a tiny, confined room with Jerry Holman while the door was shut. Okay, I don't get where they're going with this. A considerable size difference existed between Rick Allen and Jerry Holman. Now, I kind of found this part funny. A power differential existed as Holman was a state trooper in his home court, Lafayette Police Post, while Rick Allen was a CVS worker from Delphi, who had only driven to West Lafayette to pick up a vehicle he and his wife needed for transportation.
Okay, I have a weird theory. Something just came into my head as you were reading this. They're establishing all this maybe as part of the whole intimidation of Rick Allen thing. You know what I mean? Like maybe they're going to say he was intimidated straight out the gate. The size difference, because they're trying to prove the whole intimidation is what made him confess, right?
I understand that, but this is just normal, typical law enforcement ways of going about it.
I think they just want everything in the record for when this is going to an automatic appeal or a mistrial.
So, and then they get into where every time Jerry Holman would leave the room, he would shut the door, tell Rick to sit tight. Again, totally normal. But this is where it gets interesting as well. So, at the 7:10 mark of the interview, Jerry Holman told Rick Allen that we have experts that says that's you on the bridge and that's your voice on the video. And then the defense chimes in, there is no evidence that supports this statement. Jerry Holman lied to Rick Allen. And this is where they're laying out their what they claim are lies to Rick Allen, which again doesn't seem out of the ordinary to me. And then at the 15:25 mark, Holman told Rick Allen that experts are saying that you on the video and experts are saying you said down the hill. There's no evidence that supports this statement. Okay. At the 15:07 mark, Holman tells Rick that witnesses saw a gun in his pocket. There is no evidence that anyone claims to have seen a gun in Rick's pocket. Holman lied to Rick Allen. I don't remember seeing any evidence of that either. Do you?
No.
Have you ever heard of that where one of the witnesses stated that they saw a gun, other than on the video when somebody says gun, right?
Right.
And then at the 39:05 mark, Holman states, I'm not lying to you about anything. Everything I'm telling you is fact. The experts say you said go down the hill. Go down the hill. Holman was lying to Rick. Well, no kidding. That's what they do. And then, of course, Holman doubles down. I'm not lying to you, Rick. That's unethical. Okay, well, that's what
that's how they do it.
And so, yeah, all you kiddos out there, if you ever happen to have a run-in with the police, don't say anything.
I tell my students every day, if that's the only thing they learn in forensics class, I have schooled them appropriately.
That's right. All right, so that pretty much covers that. And now I'm going to get into a little thing here, and this is actually a transcript or a I don't know if it's a transcript, but this is what they said was in the video. There's a lot of F words in the
Yes.
So I'm going to really try to be careful here.
And say effing.
Yes, but it's just, it sort of gives you an idea of what it was like in that room. I found it interesting. I don't find anything wrong with it, but I just find it interesting. So I'm going to read this to you. So Jerry Holman, You're going to drag your effing wife and your daughter through this because you're too effing bullheaded to get out in front of this and admit you made a mistake. And whatever the F happened out there, we'll never effing know. We'll never effing know because you're too big of an effing, and then it has in parentheses inaudible. And then Jerry Holman, the evidence clearly indicates you are involved in this. Rick Allen, no. Jerry Holman, it effing does. Rick Allen, it doesn't. I'm telling you that there is no way that a bullet from my gun was used in these murders. Jerry Holman, and I'm telling you that we had this effing round on February 14th, 2017, and it's been secured in an effing laboratory, and we've tested other guns. Rick Allen, you could have taken it from somewhere else then because it's not possible. Jerry Holman, I did not take it from somewhere else. It was logged in, it was taken, it was photographed. You think we effing took a round and threw it down by the dead girl's foot? This ain't effing TV. This is realistic. Rick Allen, I'm telling you, I can't explain something like that. Jerry Holman, and I'm telling you that effing analysts explain it. You can't get past this. Jerry Holman, I'm not on video. This is the funny part. Jerry Holman, I'm not on video. Rick, neither am I. Jerry Holman, 4 or 5 witnesses didn't see me out there. Rick, me either. Jerry Holman, my round out of my gun wasn't 6 inches away from a dead girl. Rick, mine either. Jerry Holman, I don't think you're a bad person. And then Rick is like, well, what kind of good person kills 2 people? And this really is a different side of Richard Allen, because we're used to seeing him being drugged into court, shackled,
We've seen no
handcuffed,
side of Richard
all
Allen. We've seen
bent over,
one
looking
picture, yeah.
sickly. Here, at least, he's sort of fighting back a little bit. And okay, so Rick Allen, you're gonna pay for what you've done to my wife. You want to F with me, but leave my wife out of this. Leave me out of this. Jerry Holman, no, you're involved in this. Your effing round is there, Rick. Rick Allen, no, it's not. Jerry Holman, you're guilty of something. You're guilty and I know it, and I'm gonna effing prove it. So that was pretty much the extent of this document, and then it gets into a lot of, it goes back to, they're referencing a case that apparently is very similar to this that was tried before the Supreme Court, and that's what they keep referencing back to, and they're sort of comparing that interview with the interview with Rick Allen, and how they're very similar, and how this should be thrown out. So there you have it. Now, if his Miranda rights were never read, absolutely that interview should be thrown out. But
the problem is, it's his word against their word.
But it doesn't matter. But really, what's in that interview that's really going to mean anything? Nothing. He didn't. Right. Nowhere in there did he say I did it. Nowhere in there did he incriminate himself whatsoever. He was defending himself all the way through. So unless there's some sort of bombshell in there, the only thing I could think of that they're doing is, again, they're just trying to lay that foundation of how the prosecution and law enforcement has not been forthright with all of their evidence.
I think it's just more fodder for the I think it's just more fodder for the we have to have all this stuff on the record type of thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because he really didn't say anything to, or maybe they're trying to show the contrast between when he was in a position to defend himself versus now that he's in the prison. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
Under the conditions he's kept under, you know. And I just want to say, we have no skin in this game. We have no dog in this fight. We don't know. I still think there's bombshell evidence, or they wouldn't be able to get away with the way they're keeping him. Pete does not agree with me.
I don't. I wish there was. I hope there is, because if they have the wrong dude and they're treating him like this, that's not going to turn out well for them. Now, if he's the guy, whatever, good. Let him rot in jail. I don't care.
Right.
Whatever he's been through, he's going to go through worse. So whatever. But We haven't seen it yet, but again, I always go back to, we're not supposed to see it. This isn't supposed to be tried.
Yes, we are.
No,
we
are
always
not.
have. Peter and I always. Yes, we are the public. We are supposed to be privy to all this information.
And you will get all the information at trial. You are
We're not going
privy
to get any information
anything.
at trial. We're going to get whatever court TV reports at the end of the
Well,
day
I
at
don't
trial.
I don't think we have the
You know?
right to see all this stuff before the trial begins.
I understand that law enforcement has to play stuff close to the vest to get the right guy. I get all that. But, I mean, if you look at what they've talked about that has come out in this case versus the other, all right, Kohberger, let's go with Kohberger. They have the touch DNA. Right? To me, that's compelling. I know you don't believe in that. They say, but at least we know what they have. In this case, we've got a bullet that didn't even get fired, didn't even get charged. And here I go again with, I hate to keep going with, I teach forensics, but I do. And ballistics are not reliable and they don't really hold up in court well.
Even under the best circumstances.
Exactly, right.
And this this isn't even where this bullet was fired. It's just having those marks on it from being discharged from the gun. It wasn't a spent shell.
Okay, so that is your Delphi document. I hate waiting until late at night to get them, so get the videos about them. So if anybody has any questions, we could answer them because we've reviewed everything pretty much. Right?
Yeah, we've gone through everything. The only other thing, and I wanted to just throw this out there too, is that at one point Jerry Holman did tell Rick Allen, "Do you realize the death penalty is on the table for this?" So he was like throwing down the gauntlet right away on him.
Well, I'll tell you what. If I was Rick Allen, I'd rather have the death penalty than the way I'm being kept. Absolutely. I don't see it. I understand that people with certain type of disorders, like I understand that narcissists particularly want to control their own death. Like I understand in the case of like a Ted Bundy, he tried not to die. But I'll tell you what, if I was being kept under these conditions, I think I'd rather be dead.
Yeah.
I hate to put that out there, but you know what I mean? So if anybody, we also apologize. We are a fledgling channel. You can see how many subscribers we have and how many videos we have. So we don't have mods yet. So this is why we're, and we're obviously our setup is not privy to being, we're definitely going to need a different setup when we go live. So,
yes.
And we're waiting to make some money so that we can invest in things to make us better. So we apologize that this live looks so whack. So if anybody has any more questions, we'll answer those, and if not, then I guess we've reviewed everything, right?
We did review everything. Yes, we did. That was the extent of it.
You know what, Curtis? We are shocked that this case isn't as big as it is. We don't know if
we say it all the time
because it's been so long, because it went so long without movement. You know what I mean?
And I never I got on it late, honestly.
I got on it late too. I got on it when they arrested Richard Allen. I always heard I am a true crime. I'm obsessed with true crime. So I know people probably don't want to hear about me. This is boring. So I always followed cases. I always heard the Delphi murders. I saw the pictures of the girl. I'm like, it's a dinky little town. They don't have an arrest. Who cares? Well, not who cares, but you know what I mean? It wasn't as compelling as like a Kohberger or something. So as it went on, I kept hearing about it, and then I saw the bridge, and I got more information, and then when they arrested Richard Allen was when I was like, that's when I was in, because that PCA did just not add up to me.
And I did not get into that original Frank's memorandum, because that just sort of had everything that I sort of get drawn to, all the conspiracies, all the weird aspects of it. That's sort of what draws me into cases, so that's what drew me in, and honestly, this case just doesn't.
And Curtis, I think it's going to be very easy for them to find a jury, because I don't think a lot of people know about this. I absolutely agree with you. Curtis says he spoke with his brother in Indianapolis, and his brother is a lawyer, and he's never heard of the case.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And we wanted to cover Delphi, and we got no views.
None.
And then when that show came out, and then it was on Court TV, it picked up, and we have gotten a decent amount of views with it. So.
But now it just seems like, and I think we're going to be getting a lot of this all the way up to the trial.
This is
And I think you're right. I think it's just the defense trying to lay a foundation for an appeal, so they have all of their ducks in a row if it comes to that. I don't know.
I can imagine, Curtis, for sure. Yeah, I know how those small towns are. I teach in a very small town in New Jersey, and I totally get it. It's probably similar to Delphi, actually.
Delphi, yes.
Yeah, we have
I'm
like
sure
not
it
even
is.
100 students, a year graduating. So yeah, I can only imagine.
Yes, the
Yeah.
school that she works at, just imagine Back to the Future, that 1950s school that Marty McFly went back to. Her school looks exactly like it.
My first day, I asked my friend, why was everybody white? I had no idea where I was going to teach, because I came from like the hood, so it's really interesting. And you know what, another thing that I do like about this, we actually get to see a little bit of Richard Allen as a person, because we really hadn't.
No, we haven't seen at all.
He's just
like
been
you said,
we see now
neat,
he's a
timid,
dude in a
beat-up little dude.
yellow prison scrubs, I really hope he's the guy. I keep thinking that the bombshell evidence was in the fire pit. I don't know why I'm centered on this fire pit. I hope they have something. All right, so if anybody doesn't have any other further comments, thank you all. We appreciate each and every one of you. Like I said, sorry it looked a little whack.
We're doing our best. We really are.
We're really trying. So if you have any feedback, and we always ask for feedback, and we get a lot of, it's either people like, oh, you guys are great, or it's you suck.
Yeah.
So if you have anything constructive for us, we'd really appreciate it.
If we suck, let us know how we suck, so we can not suck anymore.
Yeah, we don't want to waste our time sucking. We would prefer to get a little bit better, you know what I mean? Well, I'm glad you think we're all good, Fire and Ice. I wish we had like 1,000 of you out there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was great, and we really appreciate you, Curtis. Thank you so much. Thank you, Fire and Ice. Thank you. We had somebody new in the chat, Rebecca Ann. Thank you.
Oh, great.
How are you? And I think that was everybody who made comments, including me, who probably made more than anybody. How sad am I?
And since this was a, oh my God, we got to get on right now. Mary's like, we're going on, and I was just out in the backyard doing yard work. I'm like, oh, I need to take a shower. So this was
normal.
It was a whiskey night.
We're very boring normal. My students think I'm crazy, but I think everybody else thinks we're pretty boring and normal, right?
Yeah, we are.
We try to be, yeah. So.
I don't know how boring we are, but we're pretty normal.
Well, we love hanging out with you.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much. I love going live. This was what I wanted to do when I started YouTube. Like, this is kind of like my dream. It's pretty sad, but
we just need to get the whole thing better, but we're working on it.
We're working on it. So thanks for coming to it. Thank you for coming to our live talk. And we will catch y'all on the flip side. We are True Crime and Wine Couple. Thank you.
Good night.
We love you. We heart you.